the perspective. Segment 2. In segment 1, we spoke about the opening. That was the way that everything started to unfold. That was where it all began, how the pieces started to unravel on their own. This part, the perspective part, this is what has evolved over time, but the key knowing and the key understanding of what it could all mean, what is the basis of it all, what did the opening take us to, where did it take us to, what did we learn, where did we end up, what did we find out, what do we now believe? So these are going to be the 3 parts that give me the whole perspective of all of it. None of these things came in the beginning. They're all different thoughts or ideas that evolved over time. And the first one that really opened it all up, what I'm calling the in-out, or zooming in and out, or seeing the whole big picture. I know there's another video where I tried to speak about this maybe a year or so ago, and there's only been a deepening and a lengthening of what I understand that means and how I see it. You may have seen, there was a video, and this is something that I saw maybe 10 years ago, about when they zoom out from Earth and how they just keep going to show you how small and significant I could be looking, sitting from my desk. But once they start zooming out into the Earth, into the planets around us, into the universe, and they keep going and going and going and going and going, it's a fascinating way to get your mind on board to see how insignificant you could understand yourself to be in that moment. And it was a good little reframe of when you are in something or feeling something or doing something and it's not pleasurable, or it's not something that you are enjoying, you get to see how on the whole scheme of things, it doesn't even matter. And it was something that I used to be fascinated with, and this was way before everything. But then going through this journey and really re-diving back into that whole concept and the thoughts, the ideas and images and the understandings that I receive. Originally, it's from seeking information from other people, but eventually when you seek so much information, you start forming connections with different pieces of information. You start receiving your own information. You start coming to your own conclusions or creating these thoughts, ideas, or ways that things work together on your own. So for me, during this journey, what was shown to me, and it was so big and profound. It's really hard to put into words, because when you're in this new openness and expansiveness of receiving new information, when you get things that are like so far out of your normal everyday realm, or things that you're used to seeing, or things that you know to see, when you see new things and understand things and new concept, it's like, did I just see that? Did I just really think that? So there was an image that I saw. And so when you think about that original video and the way that we can zoom as far out as we can zoom out to whatever we know or think our existence is, from our 3D understanding, imagine that whole existence is represented by one ball. So maybe that whole zooming out effect and looking at the whole universe in this whole aspect of this humongous infinite reality, imagine that is represented as a ball. But then there's millions and trillions and trillions and an infinite amount of that ball. So that existence, as big as we can see it when we zoom out, was shown to me that that existence was multiplied by an infinite amount of existences. And I was like, wait, what? And even though we can see that, or we can't all see, but even if we believe or think that our existence is infinite but complete at the same time, the idea that that understanding is then times by infinity makes no sense for the logical brain to understand. Hang on a minute. How can you be infinity and then times by infinity? It reminds me of when you're a child and when it's, yeah, I'm doing that infinity times infinity or something. It's like, oh, that's not a number. But that's what was showing to me, that even though we can think on a grand scale of how small we are and how big the possibilities of our existence is, once you multiply that by something that's even bigger that you can't even fathom because your brain can't grab hold of that information, it was like, oh my goodness, it really is such a broadening to the way that you think about things and the way that you perceive our existence. And the most important part was the endless possibilities in that. Because whilst I'm sitting here, sitting at my desk, talking to a computer, just thinking about how many people there are in the suburb, this country, this world, then thinking about how many planets there are, how many existences are there, how many galaxies, how many different realms of possibilities. And that's even if you don't think about anything else. That's even if you don't think about different timelines or parallel realities or the past and the future all existing at once. If you just think about it from that such a logical perspective, but then you're thinking about that times by even more than what you can even think of, there is literally so much space for possibility. There is so much space for different ideas, for different thoughts, for different ways of doing things, of being things, of existing. You can look at anything. Like you can look at the types of milk and you can see how many varieties there are. You can look at grass and see how many different varieties there are. So that has to be coupled with what we think and believe and understand and what we see and what we feel and what comes to us, as well as what are the possibilities of our true existence, of our true being. So when I first saw that image, it was like, okay, now it's like taking your brain and saying, okay, this is my brain, and then thinking of the outline of that 3D object, throwing it all out in the bin and leaving it open so it has no edges. And that's literally how I see most things, is these objects that are still in this perceived solid state, but still having that openness around them. So it opened my mind to so much. So it was very empowering in the way that it's like, oh my goodness, there's so many endless possibilities and ideas and thoughts and beliefs. Like it was literally like, a small child on Christmas Day opening up all their presents. It's like, oh my God, there's so many things that this could be. What's going to happen? What's this going to look like? What's this going to do? However, there's also another side to that, because it is so much easier to exist or to be something or to do something or to aim for something when you have a foundation, when you have a particular belief. Like, just say, for instance, we use religion, and religion's like, okay, this is the story, these are the rules, this is the aspects of how we live our life, these are the things that we believe. So you have a guide or rules, I don't like that word, that give you a covering or a foundation or a structure to the way that you get to live your life, the way that you do things, the way that you see things, be things. But when you're open to certain things and then you get open even more, it can be a little bit more difficult to say, okay, well then what do I believe? What are my foundations? Whole reason why I'm doing this series. What are the things that I believe in? What are my rules? What do I want to do? How do I want to do it? It leaves you with every single question unanswered. And because we are so used to having structure and rules and a plan and a path and moving forward, once you suddenly open yourself to just everything as an open question, everything as a possible answer, it's a whole new adjustment to being and living and trying to exist in this world, especially when the whole world around you is not built on that. It is a very hard place to be in because we like having people around us that have these similar ideas or these similar thoughts or understand those different pieces that we are talking about or the things that we are going through. But when you sort of crack it open and leave it into endless possibilities, it's like, okay, this is a little bit harder. It's like trying to walk on water. But it's also so expansive because you can go in any direction, you can move anywhere. You're not in the structured state. And I'm going to speak about the other two areas that are these key pieces to that original viewpoint of seeing this infinite space and this infinite idea of reality times infinity. Because what happens is when I had that image, when I learned about that, I had already been, okay, I was this 3D person living my normal life, not having my mind open to any new ideas or anything spiritual, blah, blah, blah. So because I was opening that first idea of my reality, of being this energetic being, plus I had come from being this 3D being, I had two ways that I needed to exist. So the 3D world, where the majority that we may see around us is living in this space. And then we're learning about this new energetic space. But now you've just opened up this whole different idea of existing in this unknown space. It was, okay, I need to exist on three different levels. And that's what this whole segment is about, the perspective, because it's that understanding, learning for me of what can be some sort of truth in those ideas. Because even though my ideas still have no outside lines, they're all open, I still have these pieces that are kind of forming it together. And that's me existing on these three levels. We've done the 3D. Everyone knows the 3D. That's what most people are living in. But then we couple it with the energetics of the vibrational frequency of who we think we are. And then we're going to add in the seeing us as this one existence, the one particle, it's just all us, the whole kit and caboodle. So this in-out part is where you would zoom into, oh, I'm being 3D, to, oh, look at me, I'm looking at the world from this holographic oneness of who I am. That's the zooming. That's the in and out. And that was the part that I still navigate through, finding that balance between those three pieces. Because it's very easy to say, oh, look, I'm holding a pen, 3D wise. Energetically, it's okay, but this is just a vibrational frequency, and this is just made up of my thoughts and beliefs and the things that I understand, the things that I've learnt, coupled with, but hang on, I'm not even existing here in this 3D. I am just using my thoughts, and all of this has just been created from the construct within my mind. So it's that in and out through those three different places of trying to exist and trying to find some balance. Because with these new ideas, with all these things that I learn and understand, it's not something you can put back in the box. It's not something that's, oh, okay, we're this big, the world is this big, the endless possibilities, and go, okay, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just going to go back to my 3D. Can't put it in a box. It's once it's open, it's open. But that's the in and out. That's in using my hands. Sometimes the hands or the feeling explain it better than the words. It's that zooming in and out. It's understanding here I am right now in this place. But hang on, let's step back. Let's zoom out. Let's look at all these other perspectives we have. So this part is part 2. And I'm not going to what I would see as the second layer, but I want to go to it can be called different things, but I'm going to use the term of the one particle or quantum structure or just being this one existence. And it's the whole idea of seeing yourself as an aspect of consciousness and I know many people describe it like this. It's like creating a video game, being the creator of the video game, but also being the video game. It's being the player and the game. It's the aspect where you are in it, but you also created it. Very big concept to try and understand and grasp hold of, especially when you can look around and I can see hundreds of different things that are existing right now where I am while I'm talking to you. I can talk about what I can see out the window, what's on my desk, what's happening over there, how everything is working. These are all existing around me. When someone says, oh, it's you creating that, it's like, well, I'm pretty clever. I can create all those things. But if then you sort of look at that as if this was a game, if you were in a video game and this is what the scene looked like, you know that every single piece of this thing that you can see or that is working is created on code. It is created by a backend, a string of numbers or sequences that form together and put together these images that we can see. And then it's from our own structure and the coded beings that we are, who then perceive or portray the things that we are seeing and create the belief of what they are based on what we've learnt. Because I'm bringing this pen up again. This is pink because we were taught that this shade is pink. So when our eyes perceive it, it shoots it over to our brain and our brain responds, that is a pink pen. We learnt what a pen looked like. We learnt what a color looked like. And it's our perception based on the things that we learnt, based on the things that we believe, that we then decide what's in our reality. So then if we are this one particle, and if you imagine that it's like a hologram built on light, sound, a vibrational frequency, because of those codes, the back end, our beliefs, this whole structure that we have created within us to be perceived from where we are at. And when you first sort of hear that, it's like, okay, if I'm creating my own reality, then if I want that pen to be blue, why can I not just now decide that it's blue? Because it doesn't just change, it doesn't just go like this. It's like, what do I have to do? How do I change that? Because there's so many structures and layers and depths to that original idea, that we can't just make some things change color, like a pen changing color. Could we do it over time? Depends on your belief. But we're not just tied to our own perception of what we see things. Because we've created this consciousness and this reality, we have created this existence of other people within this space around us. Those people then, from their point of view, are doing the exact same thing. So they're, just say we're all the same, and they are believing that they are the one, they are the player, they are the creator, they are the createe, they are doing it all, they are expressing it all. And if you have every single person who is in your reality doing that thing, we end up with these different ideas of what we think and believe to be true. And this is when we're talking about those collective ideas or those collective thoughts. It's because different people are holding the energy of these different things that they believe, which is like those back-end codes that are creating the things that we actually see. So sometimes when we're trying to change things, when we're trying to make things be perceived differently in our reality, it is tied to what everyone else is thinking. And because in this reality, we also are perceiving this 3D existence, which is what the majority of what we may be seeing is not believing anything that I'm talking about. We can't see the things that I'm saying come true. Yes, they can change and they can come true over a period of time, over a constant way in which we try and change the thought or idea towards something. But because we're sitting in this existence where not everyone is thinking the same thing, it's like having that resistance to it. So it's up to us to keep believing in it, to make those changes, to make those things happen. And for the ones who are not believing, to sort of exist and see their reality in a totally different space. And that can kind of be confusing, and it is. And the problem is we're constantly understanding that more and seeing different levels of it and understanding different layers of it. It's going to be up to us in the way that we perceive that, the way that we explain it. There are some great people who explain this type of idea or existence on such a deep level that it can make sense to you depending on which viewpoint you want to view it from. Do you want it from a full science or physics perspective, or do you want it from this high spiritual perspective? Because it was only recently I found someone who was talking about this whole idea of the quantum structure and the one particle, and explaining how you, as this one particle, it's up to the frequency of who we are and how we hold that and how it creates the reality around us. So when we're in that state of, and we're going back to this pen again, of saying that this pink pen is blue, and then we slip back down and say, no, it's not, it's pink. And then we go up and we go, oh, no, I'm going to make this pink pen is now blue. But then we go down and go, no, we're not. We can't do that. That's not ridiculous. So it's this constant flux between trying to change or do something or feel something and falling back to the opposite, because that's the existence that we've been raised in. That's the existence that we know the most about, is the part that doesn't believe any of this stuff that I'm talking about. We don't get taught any of this. We don't know or find information about this because collectively this is what everyone wants us to know. It's only through our own experiences, and depending on what you believe and depending what ideas you've decided to put into your little game, is the way in which you'll progress and understand what this all means. So it will look different for other people. They'll be saying similar things, but maybe slightly different. They'll just describe it differently. It's all still sort of comes back to the same idea. So if you go back to this whole one particle idea and you were trying to vibrate at this positive level, you were trying to create things, trying to change things, you are sitting in these positive vibes and sending love to everyone, but then of course life happens and it's hard to stay in that state, and we drop back down and we're not in that love state. We're not in this, I'm this amazing person who's creating this life around me and everything's amazing and I can do everything I want. And we're dropping down for that. And then we come back up, and then we're dropping down, we're going back up. So if you can imagine that, then that becomes two different existences. You are existing in one state, in the state where you believe you are this high vibrational being, but then you're also slipping back down to this 3D because that's where you were. So you have this effect where you were trying to balance both of these different sides of who you are. So what happens is they sort of converge and create your reality. So it's the whole concept of this 1 + 1 = 3. You're living in this, or trying to feel into or understand or be in this existence where you know that you create your own reality and you know you can make all these changes and do all these amazing things. But then you're also coupled with this existence that you're experiencing every day, that you're feeling every day, that you're actually being in right now. So you have these two different worlds and you're like, and of course you want to try and get to the other one because it's a lot better, but you want that feeling and that understanding to be rippled over into this other one as well, because that's where we are. That's how I am talking to you. That's how we are experiencing the things that we are believing over there. So it's the joining of the two that creates a reality. So that's why you hear people all the time speaking about stay in love, stay in positive, do affirmations, do meditations, because it's taking us more out of that. Now I forgot which one's my hands. We're taking us out of that experience that we're not enjoying as much and trying to get us more into the place where we do believe, where we do feel more comfortable, where we do understand and know that this is where we actually exist. And I could bore you with all the science and the physics behind it, because for me, when I get to listen to that logical part of my brain goes, that makes sense. Even though spiritually, I've already seen the images. I've already had all these images come into my life and create this existence that I see. But now you've got science and physics and all these numbers and equations and people talking about it, making sense and going, I'm putting those two together. Guess what? Now I believe, because I can put both of these sides together. But if you can't grasp onto the fact from one version, maybe you're just sciencing, you need the spiritual or the this doesn't make sense type version of it to make it really solidify in your beliefs. Go find someone who does that. Or vice versa. If you were someone who, even though you still see and feel all these things that make no sense, but you still need that logic because your 3D being's like, I need the logic, please. It's going to solidify. It's going to help you expand. And that's what's happened for me, because that logic was something that really deterred me from understanding all these new concepts and new ideas. But once you see and hear, and you'll find the right person who explains it to you, once you connect to that idea, it kind of makes the other stuff not matter anymore. And this is that existing on the 3 different layers. It's okay, so if I'm this one being and I'm creating my reality, why? And this is the biggest question. Why? What's the reason? What is the end goal? And that is something I don't have an answer for, and I don't think I need an answer for. And I don't think there is an answer for. I think we can create our own answers. I know many people will have their own answers, and their whole understanding of the way that they exist and the stories that they built around them. But for me, I think that is just a question that we can continually ask ourselves for the rest of our lives if we need an answer. But now that I'm in that state where I sit in open-ended questions and constantly just allow, receive, and believe in different answers, I don't need an answer to that. All I know is, and all I can share is the experiences that I'm having, and whether I want it to be better or worse, whether I want to continue to experience this feeling, or maybe want to increase it to this feeling. Maybe this 3D experience I went through was not so fun. Maybe we want to try something else. Maybe we want to share this with people. So our experience as this one particle, as us being the all and everything in this existence around us, is purely just for us to experience. Now, I know many people will tell you that it's a Christ light or a God or a source, and we're all just aspects of the visions of what we are all seeing, and collectively and all together it makes up the everything, where there's no thought, idea, or experience that hasn't happened. It still exists somewhere out there. There's a scenario, there is a plan, there is an experience that already exists. And this person over here may experience this thing, someone else will experience this thing, and it's just all of this together that makes up the everything. And a lot of people believe that it is ourselves who are just seeing a certain viewpoint of that experience of whatever it is you believe in, whether it's God or source or whatever it is, which is similar to believing and understanding that you are the one particle without knowing the reason why and what the end goal is. Because when you then sit in that, it's like, then, well, how do you make things matter? Because if it doesn't matter, if we just exist because we exist for an experience for no reason, then everything we do, what's the point of it all? And don't worry, I asked myself that question many, many times, and I still do. But I decided that because I am still existing as this 3D being, I want to make it as fun as I can. I want this 3D being can show me what joy feels like. It can show me what excitement feels like. It can show me what happiness is. And I like that. That's a lot better than feeling like crap. That's a lot better than having moments or experiences or situations that are not fun. I'd rather have the other end of that. So I am going to make it my reality, my video game, that I get to experience more of those things that I enjoy. So it is through that process that's why I'm here talking to you. That's why I'm still doing the things I'm doing. Because even though I can see and feel and know that on some level, none of it matters. I could go sit on my couch and just go, I'm going to do nothing because it means nothing. There's no point. But I don't want to. I'd rather experience and do something and make it fun, and hopefully be able to share more of my belief and the way that I vibrate, in the hopes that it lifts more of the people and the experiences around me. Because what that does is literally creates my experience more in that higher positive frequency. So that whole 1 + 1 = 3, we are increasing more of that good feeling that, ooh, this is a great experience. This is fun. I'm enjoying this. Instead of me keep slipping down and pulling into the things that I don't want. If I am changing the people around me as well, it's increasing the joy and the ease and the happiness that I actually experience over in this 3D world. It's like we're lifting it all up. That was a really hard piece for me to really sort of lock into, because it's, what's the point? Why should I? And then once we move over to the EVF, this is how we tie it all together. And so EVF for me is just energetic vibrational frequency, which is essentially what I think when we have an understanding and knowing and see that this whole consciousness or idea that we spoke of, this existence where I was saying it's codes, those codes are perceived as light. If you look at it from physics or science or whichever one of those learnings to believe and understand in like the Big Bang, if you use that as your reason to see that if we existed from this burst of light, and that's our whole existence, and everything is made up from light, and light is basically a frequency that exists, and we can use all the tools we have around us to understand about how everything vibrates, and even the solid things within our existence are on some level moving. We can zoom in enough on anything that exists as a solid in our reality and see the way that it vibrates. Every single thing that exists, whether it's a solid, whether it's an experience, whether it's a feeling, has a energetic frequency to it. And we can measure that, which means that if we are using this coded structure behind everything that we see, it means it is based on a frequency, an energetic frequency, which holds its own vibration. So this is how I see the energetic vibrational frequency is. That's all we are. That's all we exist as. And we know you will hear of the basics of trying to manifest or bring things into your reality is based on, you just need to match the frequency of the thing you want in order to attract it into your experience. So what that means is in the beliefs that you are holding, in the stories that you hold to be true, in your energetic field and the fields around you, the collective, the ideas of everyone else existing around you and inside your reality, with all these different things vibrating on different levels, in order for you to see and believe and bring things that you want into this reality, you have to allow that space to make that match to all those other things around you. Say you wanted to say, I want to manifest $100 today, but you were still holding a belief that you can only make money by working hard. That belief held within your body and in your field around you is not matching the belief that you have. It's not matching the thing that you want to create. You can very easily say all day, I want to bring in $100 today. But if you still have the belief, you could be holding it within your field that you need to work hard to make money, that you can't receive money for no other reason. You will never receive $100 for no reason whatsoever. So it is understanding of the vibrational frequency in the energetics around us that allows us to constantly feel in, adjust, understand who we are, what we're believing, what we're holding, in order then to facilitate those experiences that we want, those things that we want to exist in. So whilst before I was saying we have this where our 3D is, but we're believing in ourselves on this one particle type idea, in order for us to get more into this one particle idea, we are existing as these energetic beings in this 3D reality, and we are constantly working on our own energetics, our own vibrational frequency, in order to remove anything that is not matching that. So it can start with ourselves, where we will find these beliefs that are holding this resonance, or these stories that we believe that are not matching the things that we want to create, or the way that we are feeling about something, maybe a past experience, maybe it's tied to a story, maybe it's something that we had to move through that is embedded itself within our body. So we are constantly looking at that. We're constantly adjusting the field around us. What are the things that we're doing around us? Who are we hanging with? Where are we existing? What are we physically doing? What are we listening to? What are we bringing in? And it's a combination. And yes, all this stuff is so complex. It's a combination of everything that allows us or shows us or creates a space for us to exist in order to move through those things to bring us closer to that reality that we do believe in, or the reality that we want to see, or the reality we want to experience. So it's a combination of understanding the biggest aspect we can of our existence, and how on the scale, it's less than a drop in the ocean. Combining it with the idea that this whole reality has been created by us, for us to experience, with unanswered questions, but a constant seeker of joy and new experiences and new frequencies, which then drive us to work on that energetic frequency of ourselves and what's around us. And this is a very simplified version, because when you go into these 3 different areas, it's very in-depth. There's so many different possibilities and answers and reasons and ideas that people speak about, and the things that they hold to be true to allow them to exist in this reality. But for me, once I dove into all these different ones, this was the way that I came to my own conclusion of how I see my existence. And this is going to be unique to everyone. But that's the whole beauty of it, is because of these 3 layers, we can all hold our own beliefs. We can all create our own understanding of what this existence is, because there is no one answer. There is no one reason. Well, that's what I believe. People will tell you it's because of this, because of this, because of this, because I have so many questions that there's no possibility that some of the things that people believe to be true that I can see as a solid truth, because I can see that there's different viewpoints to everything. So you will see a lot of people who will have this very complex and in-depth story to our being, and why and how we were created, and what our purpose is, and what we're tuning into, and how we are expressing or being in this reality around us. And that's perfectly fine, because that is the reality that they created. We get to create our own. And the only people who are going to hear me speak about this are the ones that will believe in one little piece that I'm talking about. The majority of the people that probably exist in my reality will never hear this video. They will never see this video. Maybe even no one sees this video. Maybe I just speak because I am verbalizing this literally to myself, because if I am the one particle, then I'm only talking to myself. So I basically just raising the vibration of my own existence. And when you have that viewpoint, it's very interesting when you talk to people and do things, because the more you believe into that, it's, oh, why did I create that? How did I create that experience? And it's up to you how much you want to tie into that and how much you want to believe in that. But even if you stripped all of that away, even with having all that knowledge and understanding, like, we just want to make it fun, right? We don't want it to not be enjoyable. We don't want it to be a constant struggle. We don't want to believe that, oh, I have to heal. I have to constantly do this thing. I have to, you don't have to do anything. It's whatever you want to believe for this reality that's going to create this reality around you. My only job is to express to you how I've come to my own conclusion that we can choose to believe whatever we want. Even if you don't believe me on a 3D level, or on an energetic vibrational frequency level, or on a whole one particle zoomed out level, it doesn't matter. But if you can come up and create a place for you to exist that is enjoyable, that works for you, that is something that you can exist in and something that you enjoy being in, that's it. That's all you need to do. All that other stuff, all of it, every single thing that I learn, hear, see, do, feel, it's all just created to help us continue to move forward. That's it. That's all it's there for. And because us as 3D beings need a story, that's why there's so many stories out there. Because the more of us who create more stories, there's more for everyone else to tap into. And we just end up with such this collection of the everything, because remember, it already exists. It's just a new way for us to put on these lenses of what we are perceiving around us. So my ultimate message to all of that is, we don't need to get caught up in the specifics of it. We don't need to tie ourselves down to whatever it is that we think we need to do, we have to believe in. It's more about having your own experience and creating a space that you want to exist in, that you enjoy existing in. And that's all you need to do. Segment 3 is the story. And this is where we're going to dive a lot more in the story, the beliefs, the collectives, and the history to our existence, and how I've seen it, how I've experienced it, and what it all means, what it's all for. We did tap on that a little bit today, but we're going to talk a little bit more about those areas. So keep an eye out for the next video.